Let's talk a little bit about Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere, the biopic of a young Bruce Springsteen on the cusp of global superstardom in a film written and directed by Scott Cooper. This is, of course, a movie star vehicle for the bear himself, Jeremy Allen White. He might get himself into the Oscars discussion, as many people do with these music biopics. This is a movie that charts Bruce Springsteen as he writes and records his Nebraska album, a sort of departure for him in his nascent career as a young budding rock star. He went acoustic on this one. In a lot of ways, this is almost like the opposite story of A Complete Unknown, where that movie is Dylan going electric and this one is Springsteen going acoustic. You get to see him perform Born to Run in the beginning of this movie. You get to see him write Born in the USA in the middle of it. So you have moments where you have Jeremy Allen White singing those iconic songs, and I feel like he really pulls it off. It's a pretty convincing musical impression of Springsteen, if not a complete impression of Springsteen. I think, as a vehicle for a potential Oscar nomination, this really succeeds for Jeremy Allen White, as well as Jeremy Strong, who I think is pretty charming in a supporting role.
Oh, he's good.
Just as like a biopic of a legendary musician that tries to communicate what the essence of is that made him so special, I don't know if Springsteen Deliver Me From Nowhere worked for me. How'd you feel, Arturo?
When I saw it in theater, even with the screen that we had, they have those. Everyone's doing the pre-roll where the director will come out and tell you something. And I found it really funny. He goes, "This is a moment in someone's life. It's not the whole thing." Movie begins, he's a little kid. I was like, "Gotcha." So you got to do the whole life story to understand the moment. I was like, just don't say anything. Just let it live.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I come to find out that this whole movie is supposed to be about authenticity. So authentic that's why it's a little boring. Just like his Nebraska tapes that he wanted to focus on. The girl don't exist.
Yeah, it's a composite of different women he's been with.
Bummer.
I mean, it's part of why she feels so undefined, right? Because she's just sort of meant a representative figure.
You're writing a big song, but I'm at the diner. What are we doing?
Yeah, and well, that's the thing. I think this movie commits some of the same sins that I think the Bob Marley biopic from last year. It's so literal in how it tries to communicate the artist's inspiration, right? Like he pulls up to a mansion on a hill, and then you hear him writing "Mansion on a Hill." You hear him singing about a woman scorned by her ex-lover, and it shows Odessa Young, right? Like it's too obvious. And it also, to me, just as somebody who like listens to artists and is interested in their inspiration and how they arrive at their creativity, it strikes me as like too A to B, and not necessarily representative of the true way that inspiration happens, right? Like this is a movie where, in order to communicate to the album that Bruce Springsteen is torn between two different kinds of sound, he writes on a piece of paper, "Double album, question mark, underline, underline."
God, no.
We, nah, I.
No.
I will give him this in terms of the inspirations. Stephen Graham is fantastic. There is one specific sequence with a bartender where they're talking about whether he's a good man or not, and he gives what's his name a look. Turns out that was ad-libbed as well. It is my favorite scene. That just adds more to it, that he made it up on the spot. I thought, as tiny as his role was, I think it's like very indicative of this artist who's supposed to, he's on the crutch of making it. He knows that after that, he's not going to be able to do your average little show or whatever it is, date a girl from the diner. And I think that's a fascinating concept. I don't know why they thought they needed to make it so boring, why they needed to lie about certain things. There's that tweet going around where in the movie he's really big on mustard, but the man's taking time out of his shows to say, "I don't like mustard." I don't know. It's just, if you're going to reduce things to keep it authentic, but then there's so many little holes there, then you should have added a little bit more flair.
Yeah. I mean, like, not to disparage it too much, but I kind of think this is a movie that like I could write about Bruce Springsteen, and I don't really know anything about Bruce Springsteen, like it's just not
it's New Jersey boy too.
Yeah. The state of New Jersey pays for everybody to have Bruce Springsteen and John Bon Jovi albums, whether or not you like them. This is also a film that comes from Scott Cooper. He's made a bunch of semi-notable movies, stuff like Hostels, stuff like Black Mass. Probably the most successful in terms of at least awards is Crazy Heart, which won Jeff Bridges an Oscar. He's never been a filmmaker that I found to be particularly compelling. And
Yeah.
I don't know, that he just doesn't feel like he really gets to the heart of Springsteen here. I did think it was notable that during this movie, they reference a lot of films, right? They reference The Night of the Hunter, they reference Badlands. There's references to films all throughout, and not a lot of references to music, which almost made me think like this is definitely coming from a movie guy, not a music guy.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I think you kind of need a little bit more respect to the music here. And maybe it's just also that Bruce Springsteen he's not as compelling, and that's fine. Like, he's not a guy who has issues with hard drugs or alcoholism or whatever. It's
kind of like he's got to pin it on his dad, but the movie is like him also realizing they might make a movie about my dad, and I don't want to be too mean to him either. It's like he's thinking about those. Yeah, it's
a
weird.
movie about him having trauma from his relationship with his dad, but the movie's conclusion is that his dad's a good guy.
His dad's a good guy. I also think there's a route of therapy that they choose, which I think is a complete cop-out, because they don't really get into what the therapy would have been to help you. And if you're talking about Jersey and therapy, we got a whole 5 seasons of The Sopranos that actually covers it well. I thought it was such a cop-out to be like, and just sign up for this and you'll be okay.
They kind of tried to speed run the depression plot at the end of that movie to give it something to be about, and it doesn't really work.
You're right, though. Jeremy Strong, always clean. I don't think he's better than what he did with The Apprentice. And I think it's a Golden Globes performance for musical from my boy. So
100%, yeah. Not Jeremy Strong's best work, but he's always going to bring it. I'm not happy about Gaby Hoffman suddenly becoming like a one-scene mom character actor. Like, this is Gaby Hoffman we're talking about. She's a really good actress.
Just in The Mastermind as well, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I wanted a little bit more from Springsteen. I still feel like Jeremy Allen White is going to be in discussion for Best Actor, but I would be kind of surprised to see this movie show up in any other category.